Hi, good evening. My name is Jay Rothman. I am the host of the show. Welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live. Again, my name is Jay, and I'd like to introduce my co host this evening, the man of the land from down under. He calls Australia home. Welcome back, Evis Love.
As always, brothers and sisters, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's go in.
We have Jeff Fasano. Nashville, Tennessee is where he lays his head on that pillow most nights. Welcome back, Jeff Fasano.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the soiree.
Ooh, nice word, Jeff.
And of course, we have Josh Richer, Los Angeles, California, is where he calls home tonight. Welcome back, Josh Richer.
Great to be here. Happy Thursday at Real Men Night, you guys.
There we go. So tonight's episode is 136, coming off of a really amazing show last week with Eric Hollenbach from The Craftsman. Well, tonight it's back to the foursome here. And we decided to change things up a little bit tonight. Josh Richer actually brought a topic to our meeting this week, the meeting that we did kind of in space. But in any event, tonight's episode is all about, is your pain making or breaking you? Is it possible to turn your pain into pleasure or purpose? Josh, I'm going to invite you to kick us off, light us up, get us hot, and share with us what was your inspiration for, in fact, suggesting this topic for this evening's episode 136.
Sure. Well, welcome, everybody. Great to be back on another live Thursday night. Appreciate you all, and thanks for tuning in. So this began, I've got some friends that are going through some big changes in life, and I have been too. And it's sort of like we, there's been friction there, and there's been, some struggles or challenges to get through, of course, in big moments of change in life and through big moments of movement. And, it seems that we're all trying to get back to comfortable, but is comfortable really what we should be striving for? Because as we've all known in our past, we've been in a comfortable relationship that maybe wasn't the best for us, or we've been in a comfortable work situation that we're kind of just logging the hours, and it isn't a passion-filled life. It isn't what we, truly desire, but we get comfortable in those moments and we kind of stay stuck. So I started thinking about this relationship to comfort and pain. I'm like, comfort, if we're striving to have these comfortable lives, that means that we're not actually living full-filled, passion-filled lives. And we're just kind of stuck in the ho-hum. And then we avoid pain, but pain seems to bring with it change, opportunity. And it was also what I was working out, that I was in the middle of a last few reps of a set, and I was really struggling. And in my mind, I was thinking, God, I don't know if I can finish these last two. I was in pain. I was in a lot of pain in that moment. But pain is actually what makes the muscles grow. It's that moment of struggle that is creating what I want to achieve. So I thought about it in the moment. In that specific example, I was like, wow, well, if what I'm trying to achieve is actually in this moment of pain for me right now, well, then shouldn't I reframe the pain? And shouldn't this be what I'm actually shooting for? Is this pain, this growth, this change? And so I've been playing with that here the last week. It actually came up in our episode with Eric, and I've been kind of monkeying with that concept for the last week. And I brought it up to the guys because I want to fully explore, unwrap, unpack like we do, and dive into what is pain and what is our relationship with it. And is there an opportunity there to possibly reframe the pain into this is actually what we should be shooting for? Now, that said, a painful life does sound pretty horrible, and moments of comfort are good, but achieving growth, striving for what we want, there's some pain in there, and it is that bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. No
Dev, what's your
pain remain
relationship
the
with pain?
no pain remain the same, huh?
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, brother. You hit a couple of good things, and we've been talking a lot about change, particularly as we're just coming into this new year 23. And it is uncomfortable for a lot of people, even just to get going. And it's so easy we can get back into the routine to what we do here in the collective, avoid pain, to distract ourselves from pain, to distract ourselves from change. So really what you're saying is like building that better relationship or different perspective on what we have with pain. Because when you talk about, just that little nice metaphor within the gym, I think it's a great metaphor because we're breaking down muscle. There's nothing pretty about being in the gym. It's breaking down your muscle to make the transformation when you're outside of the gym. So it is part of the human evolution to go through pain, brothers and sisters. It builds our character. It builds our resilience. It builds us who we are as a human being. But we have grown up so deep in this matrix that we try to avoid the pains within our lives that come with changes. So whether that's physical, whether that's emotional, whether it's mental, whether that's spiritual, we have been programmed to distract ourselves from being able to make those changes. So we sit in the comfort zone because on a deeper level, and I know our brother Josh will help us here on the science level of the brain, we actually aren't hooked up to make big changes within our lives. So yeah, man, I love what you're opening up with, brother. I'm looking forward to diving into this one, man.
Jeff, I'm curious. What's your relationship with pain? And as we've been actively listening really well to just Josh and Ev tonight on our opening, what is your relationship with pain? And are you able to embrace it today, to turn it or convert it from harmful pain to some level of pleasure? Can't hear you. Audio. Your audio is not working. You're muted. I don't know if I could unmute you.
Yeah,
There you are.
There you go.
There you go.
I had noisy cats behind me. That's what.
There you go.
Who are becoming a pain. Especially the new guy. On the other side, when you go through stuff, you come out the other side, and if you've made the commitment to move through old stuff, old wounding, old programming, old conditioning, and you dive into that and you delve into it as well, feelings are going to come up. Deep rooted feelings are going to come up. Experiences without wounding is going to come up. Trauma possibly will come up. In theory, on a soul level, yes, we're trying to dive into all of that without resisting any of it. But we're human, and we're going to resist a lot of the stuff that comes up. We're going to resist a lot of the feelings that come up. We're going to resist the energy attached to all of that comes up because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. And we're moving through uncomfortable things, uncomfortable feelings, uncomfortable emotions, uncomfortable experiences, uncomfortable trauma. But as we do that, and in theory, and we've said it, dive into it, be with it, that's all fantastic on a soul level, but we're human. So we are all going to resist stuff that comes up. And it's in that resistance that causes the pain. But we're all going to do it. I've done it. Like I said, from last September on through the end of 2022, I was feeling a lot of that stuff. A lot of very, very deep emotions and deep feelings and pain with it, even though I know in my mind, in my mental body, be with it, go through it, feel the feelings. But we're all in a place of deep discomfort as we are moving through stuff. I think the thing to do is to know that we're moving through stuff, feelings, emotions, programming, conditioning. We're moving through it. It's coming up for us to release. If we keep our mind on this is what I'm releasing and just be with whatever is happening within us, we're going to move to the other side of it. And folks, everybody out there can relate to this because we've all been through it and we all have moved to the other side of it. The key too is what are we doing with what's on the other side of it? What are we going to be doing with what's on the other side of it? Moving into it, knowing that, life is cyclical. We're going to move back into old wounding and that stuff's going to come up again. So really, in theory, the resistance to all of the uncomfort is what really causes the pain.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, I can speak from the I standpoint. I'm going to call myself out right here too. Is that not only did I think I labeled the discomfort as bad, I also would use opportunities in life, i.e. things outside of me, to change that state that I was uncomfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol was a huge one that I used to change that state of discomfort. And I think my healthy view on change and discomfort and this point of friction that you're talking about, Jeff, was that when I started realizing, that was the other lie I was telling myself, was that in that moment I wasn't okay. That's a huge lie that we tell ourselves. I'm not okay with this, therefore I need to change it, right? And I was changing it through alcohol, through shopping, distractions, phone, TV, whatever. You are okay. I know it's uncomfortable, but you're okay to be in that place of discomfort. And so you so beautifully said it, Jeff, allow that energy to move rather than stuff it where it stays stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, what were you going to say, Jay?
Well, it's interesting because you opened this up tonight and you gave an example of the physical pain that we even at times want to resist. So there's different kinds of pain and there's different levels of pain. There's the emotional, there's the mental, there's the physical pain. There even may be sexual pain. There can even be spiritual pain or faith-based pain. And it really just comes down to is really embracing the idea that no matter what, it's going to pass through, or it's going to dissolve, or it's going to resolve. And it's really more about our mindset and how do we embrace it. And it's interesting because just in the last 3 weeks or so, I have personally been hit with some pain. And for me, it gave me the opportunity to really see it as contrast and see that, wow, I've had a pretty good run of, I don't want to say avoiding it. It wasn't about avoiding it. It wasn't coming at me. And most recently, I've had one challenge, one opportunity after the next. And those moments that created internal pain for me, I didn't sink into a low with it. I didn't give it the power over me. but I had to, as a conscious observer of self, I was very, very crystal clear how long it had been since I had felt that level of distress or discomfort and pain. And instead of kind of just sitting in it, the first thing I did was, by seeing the contrast, I took myself right to gratitude. I was like, wow, like it's been so long since I've been hit. And for me, gratitude is always a gateway or a portal to step out of the pain, especially if it's emotional or mental. And the other tool that I reached for in that moment was when the pain came through from, let's say, relationships that created that perfect storm. I didn't take it personally. I had to work through it. The first thing, the younger boy, the little boy within, little JJ, he went right to taking it personally. He woke up. He was like, he was back in school again and felt like he was being attacked, assaulted, bullied. I could come up with probably 5 more words to describe it. But what I realized was that it was not about me. It's someone else's discomfort, someone else's pain. And a lot of times we project it on one another. And so for me, I had to work through, do I take it personally, right? Or do I just kind of, in a very ceremonious way, with love, give it back to them and understand that it's not always my pain. It's someone else's pain that's being projected onto me. And how I'm able to work through that is through empathy for that individual or individuals that I experienced, number one. And secondly, to really embrace that it's their soul journey that has brought them to that point where I felt attacked or assaulted on some level. And so that's how I'm working through it. I get to show up and grow up today. And it's simple, not easy, because the younger part of myself is like, whoa, like, either I'm going to defend myself or I'm going to come on the offense. And what I know today is that neither one of those are healthy for me, healthy for us as men. And instead of either going into fight, flight, freeze, or an offensive mode, pause is the greatest tool I get to hold on to today. I pause. And sometimes I have no idea how long the pause is going to be. And I don't need to know. What I do know is that I will know when I get that next, what I call download a hit, to know, what do I do with that? Do I express my feelings? Do I express how it affected me? Or do I let it go and let it flow? And so, that's how I deal. Now, today, ironically, I want to invite you, Ev, to share with us in this moment. What do you make of what I just shared?
It's beautiful, brother. Just anyone out there, is my camera right, man? Is all saying that.
Well,
they can't see me.
If you could shift your body physically to your left,
to my left, over here.
To your right, Ev.
To my right, over here.
There you go, right there. That's cool. No, inch to your left a little bit. A little bit more. I just went through a whole photo shoot doing this. Now you're right there. You're right in the middle.
Jeff?
To the left.
To the left. All right.
I love it.
Just listen to me. You don't need to see me. But you say a very couple of important points there, brother. We've got to really identify where this pain's coming from in the first place.
Exactly.
When we become aware of where the pain's coming from, look at pain similar to anger. Now, where I wanted to go in with the science stuff is really understanding that pain and pleasure are linked up in the same parts of the brain. So understanding that your ego mind is going to do everything to keep you from pain and making change within your life is very, very important from step one. Once we understand that we may be trying to seek pleasure, like we all have, to avoid certain pains or distract ourselves in the past, then we can start asking ourselves, okay, what possibly may I have to forgive myself for? For me, that was my personal tool. It was forgiveness. And I talk a lot about it in a lot of the stuff that I share. And that is because I've always said that forgiveness was never about anything outside of myself, but forgiving me, forgiving the little Ev that had to go through all the hurt that caused the pain as the youngster. So when I was able to bring that forgiveness into my life, straight away then, brothers and sisters, we can take back our personal power. We don't have no cord connected to anything or anyone then. That allows you to take your personal power to now say that you have the solution. When we've identified where that pain is coming from, my brothers and sisters, now it's our opportunity to try and express this pain. Now, we talk a lot about emotions and feelings, and why? Because it's so important, because we're too busy dumping emotions down underneath these dopamine hits out here in the collective, whether it's technology, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's shopping, whether it's sex, so many distractions. And we don't give ourselves the ability to be able to express the emotions that are underneath pain. So when we're identifying and managing these emotions now that come from the pain within our lives, now we have the ability to be able to let go, grow, and start to glow in our world. I'm a walking metaphor for my story, my brothers and sisters. We've all been through our own hurt and pain, and it's very individual. But through that pain, I created purpose. Through that pain, I created passion. So it really is a choice. But they're just some basic tools that have worked for me and that I constantly share with my brothers and sisters that I'm helping on their journey as well.
I love that.
Beautiful.
You know what? It's through the pain. It's through the process of moving through our conditioning, programming, wounding, and through the energy that surfaces, the feelings and all of that. It's through that, all of that we can identify the revelations through it, the ahas through it, to get to that stage where, you can't rush the process. So if you've made a commitment, and this is important, commitment, because the question is about what is our commitments. If you made a commitment to do the work, to do the inner work, to take the inner journey, to go on that pathway within, you are going to have these quote unquote shadow periods. You're going to move into the shadow. You're going to move into the dark night of the soul. And it's going to be very uncomfortable. It's just part of the process. The key to it is not to rush that process. It's not going to feel great. I mean, I've spent the last 4 months of the year, almost 3 months of the year in that process. And you can't rush the process. And it's about being in it, because the conditioning and the programming and the wounding was well solidified for many, many years, until you got to that point where you began the process of breaking down those walls and moving through that. So you've got to be in the process, and it's not about rushing that process, and it's about being with all those feelings and feeling the resistance, which is the pain that comes up, the trauma that comes up, all of those feelings, and being in it. But one of the things we can do, and one of the things that I learned last year, was to move through a practice of mindful self-compassion when you're in those places, because you're going to be there. We're going to be there. You're on this journey. You're going to be there. So then it's about mindful self-compassion, having compassion and acceptance for where we are, but it's not about stuffing it anymore, because here's the thing. We've all done it. We've all repressed and suppressed so much in our life that the deeper we go within it, the more deeply that programming, conditioning, and everything else is impacted within us. So in order to unpack it, we've got to do a lot of deeper digging through it, which increases the feelings, the intensity of the feelings, and thus increases the pain because of that. So the more we suppress, repress, stuff, just picture yourself, pounding mud, pounding it and stuffing it and making it harder. And then, okay, now I'm on this journey, and then I'm going to start to break that down. Well, just think about how deep and how hard and how cemented that has been in us. And then we go through the process of unpacking it and breaking down that armor and those walls. There's going to be a lot of resistance in there, a lot of uncomfortability in there that's going to cause this pain within us. So we have to keep in mind to be in the process and move through periods and move into the compassion and acceptance of it, and know that it's just a period of our lives that we're going through. And once we do that and find the aha moments and the revelations and the growth and the learning, it's on the other side of that it's about us creating new commitments.
Yeah, I love what you're sharing, Jeff, because what's really coming forward for me is that there's that word with a capital T again, that capital T or small t, it doesn't matter. Eric talked about that last week with us. But the word I'm talking about is trust. Trust in the process. We've all been there before where we've navigated, through rough seas, choppy waters, pain. And if we can embrace and understand that this too shall pass, meaning it'll pass if we don't give it permission to take control, if we don't allow it to disempower us, but instead just trust the process. That's why I love to pause and not get obsessed about the pain within, if it's emotional or mental pain, relationship pain, because I know that if I distract myself with healthy choices rather than the egoic mind's choices to protect that little boy within that he knows doesn't want to be in pain. So in the past, was buy another pack of smokes, eat that really toxic fast food, junk food, or down that bottle of wine by yourself, or retail therapy, or there's probably 10 more addictive strategies that the ego will come up with to numb us out from feeling the pain. But what I've learned is the more I open myself up to just acknowledge the pain, feel the pain, reveal the pain, I then can heal it and release it. We always have a choice. We either live in pain or we feel the pain. And when we can feel the pain, there's an absolute knowing, trusting that it will dissolve, it will resolve. Many times it's about acceptance, as we've already shared this evening. Sometimes it's about letting it go. Sometimes it's about empathy for ourselves or empathy for someone that may have hurt us. And sometimes it's about weeding the garden. Sometimes it means we got to, pull that weed out and say, no, thank you. Not here, not now, not today, no mas, no more. So that sometimes it means setting a healthy boundary. But what it doesn't mean, which is where our younger inner child will typically go, is we will go to the reactionary mode. We want to come back fighting. We want to come back, letting that individual that caused us discomfort or pain, we want them to know. And is that really best for us? Because many times when we go down that road, that rabbit hole, we end up with regret. We say things that then we go to guilt or shame. And when we just embrace it in a more of a higher self perspective, showing up and growing up for that child within and teaching that little boy or little girl how to navigate through the pain, knowing that, trusting that it will dissolve if we don't become obsessed about it and we reach for healthy tools.
Yeah.
What do you make of that, Josh, Richard?
I think the other fallacy that we're stuck in mentally about pain is that it's going to last forever, right?
It
Like
feels that way, right?
if we trust and just allow the emotions to come, instead of I think, well, in my case, I pushed all the emotions away that I was uncomfortable with, and spent a lifetime doing that. When I started to allow these emotions to set in, I was afraid I would be there forever. And I think that, back to Ev's talk about the brain, the brain thinks, oh crap, I'm gonna, be it now. What we're accepting pain, we're accepting anger, we're accepting disappointment, we're accepting whatever's uncomfortable, that now that feeling's just going to be here forever. We have to change it still, or alter it, or shift it. But what the guys are talking about tonight is exactly the opposite. When we can honor, sit in, notice, without judgment, without shame, without pushing emotions away, especially fear and pain. When we can sit with it, we are then, for the first time in our lives, like Jeff was talking about, that packed ground, it starts to break up, and we can move through it for potentially one of the first times in our lives. And it's not there forever. On the other side, once we've moved through it, it's a little uncomfortable. It's not hard, but we can do that. And I think giving ourselves permission to do that, and then also telling our brain, look, it is uncomfortable, and I'm not really happy sitting with this right now, but I can do this and I can get through it. And then you will discover that on the other side. And then what happens is, what all the guys are so beautifully talking about tonight, is we start calling these moments opportunities. We reframe the pain from something that we are trying to get rid of in our lives. And then I use it now as breadcrumbs in my life. When I bump into discomfort, or I bump into, moments of pain, I'm like, ooh, what's underneath this? What can I clear off the runway, and make a clear shot for myself to take off in the rest of my life? So yeah, it is that mental management of this, right? I think that's what we're talking about. I mean, the struggle is right here in these 6 inches.
Well,
here's
a question I have. Here's a question I have for you, Josh. How do we determine when the pain is heartfelt versus headfelt?
That's all right. Let me think through that answer.
While you're thinking, I want to share this.
Go ahead.
So, and I probably shared this, in one of our 135 episodes somewhere along the way. So a whole bunch of years ago, when I really started doing this work and on this inner journey, I was like, in it for a while. And one night, and I know I've shared this, but one night I had unpacked so much in working when I was in New York, that I remember it was a Saturday night, and I literally was laying on my bed, writhing in pain. I unpacked so much emotionally, the wounding. I unpacked so much that literally my heart hurt, and I could feel the physical pain in my heart, because what I was unpacking was the armor around my heart. And I remember moving through that dark night of the soul that night, and the energy that was moving. And I had to call a friend, and he was like, what's going on? I go, I literally can feel the physical pain in my heart. But I know that it's not a heart attack, and I know that it's not physical, but I could feel that pain because of all the unpacking I did. And that really what it was just it was the breaking down of it, the breaking of the armor through it. But it was so deep. And one of the things that popped up for me, Jay, when you were talking, is that we can at times maybe even go into the drama of all of that. Indulge in the drama of the pain is another way of not being in the process. But I just remember how that was for me, and the heaviness and the darkness surrounding that night. Then I eventually, with my friend talking to me, I fell asleep after being on the phone with him for about 2 hours. And I woke up the next morning with my phone on my chest, and the phone was dead. And I woke up and I went, "Oh my God." And then it was almost like the air had cleared and I moved through it. But I literally felt that pain in my heart. I was holding myself there because of the pain that I felt there. It was profound at that time. And I've gone through periods of that, along the way. But the thing about it is that's part of the process.
I am curious, and Josh will give you a moment. You've had some time to pause my question. I'm not sure if you're there or not, but I want to ask Evis, what is the relationship between physical pain that someone may have? It could be an injury or it could be a long-term medical condition. How, any ideas or insights from your perspective of how we can navigate and either push through the pain, accept the pain, and or change our relationship with pain that's caused by medical conditions?
Big question, man, because, I mean, how many brothers and sisters are walking around with conditions physically and you wouldn't even know they're in pain? So a question like this is going to be on an individual subjective purpose and basis as well, because a lot of people, they have a high pain threshold, and some people don't have a pain threshold at all. They wouldn't know how far to take it until they feel pain within their life. But what you're talking on that physical level, my brother, these are the times that, we've got to make sure that we have people around us that we do trust and value to support us through some of the physical pain that we may be going through. If you're talking about something acute, that short-term pain, you may have to have someone there, even if it's chronic pain, something that consistently comes back and forth in waves. Man, for an example, just one thing for me that comes up about pain is one time when I had a really bad tooth problem. You get that feeling like with pain around your teeth, man, those nerves, and it comes back in waves.
You can't ignore it. It's in your head.
There's nothing worse. But I had support around me at the time that helped me through that. So that was really important, part for me, particularly that physical pain that you're talking about, brother.
Yeah.
Because then I was able to express with them and able to vent with them. And with them being around, it actually takes your mind off the pain.
Yeah, I want to share that when I hit my crash rock bottom back in 15, one of the things that ended up happening was back in 2018 when my primary blood flow for my right leg was now compromised or 100% blocked, which was a bypass. And most people don't know this unless I share it. But when I'm in the wilderness, when I'm on a trail, which is daily, I'm stepping in pain every single day because I don't have the arteries. They're all blocked in my leg as well as the bypass. However, I started to understand that with each step that I step into the pain, I'm actually helping to create collateral vessels and veins in my leg. So I had
reframe
to
the pain.
reframe, exactly, Josh. I had to change my relationship with that pain,
Mhm.
and I didn't see it as an enemy. I saw
Yeah.
it as a friend. I saw it as accepting and trusting that it's just part of this process. And it was interesting because it wasn't until the end of 21 that I decided to go get testing again and see what's going on. This has been since 2018, 3 years had passed. And I got my affirmation then that my blood flow and my ankle was back in normal range and no arteries open, but yet I had created collateral. So for me, I believed it was possible. Now, I still have pain if I do when I let's say I hike or I climb, I ascend at a pretty steep level. As soon as I'm doing stair steppers, I'm in pain. But I open my heart to it. I accept that it's just part of my life today. I don't I don't know that it's going to be forever. I don't need to know because forever is just today. I don't know what tomorrow brings. So I live in acceptance. I embrace it. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
these are tears of gratitude because the alternative is I could be dead. I could have my leg could be amputated. But I chose a different path.
Hmm.
And
And I'm gonna
I've learned
play.
how to live in pain.
Hmm.
What's that, Josh?
I'm gonna play the other side real quick. Let's play the tape through, right? Had you gotten to those points of pain after that blocked artery and backed away and lived a life on the sofa or in comfort rather than stepping through that pain,
Hmm.
you wouldn't have healed those arteries back to normal blood flow levels. You
I
wouldn't
probably
be where
I
you are
wouldn't be
today.
alive. I probably wouldn't be alive.
Hmm.
We always have choices, and I chose to step into it, and just trusting that I believe that we all have infinite possibilities to heal, and if we don't have a diagnosis, or we have a diagnosis, even if it's of a medical condition, I do believe it's really there to teach us something, to show us, and I do believe that a combination of reducing stress, nutrition, movement, bad habits that didn't serve us, if we're still holding on to them. There are many different ways to help nurture and nourish the body temple with the infinite possibilities that it is possible that we can dissolve whatever medical condition that we have that has us living in a chronic state of pain.
Hmm.
Now, again, this is just my personal relationship with it. It doesn't mean that this is for everybody. But I do believe, Josh, the power of the mind, the power of the brain.
Yep. Yep.
Western medicine doesn't understand that, in my humble opinion. I just got denied for a life insurance policy today. Why? Because they went back to my cardiologist some 7.5 years ago, and all they were looking at was the original diagnosis.
Mm.
They didn't even look at the current. I get to work on acceptance today. I'm grateful I have a life insurance policy. This was going to be a superior one.
Mm.
But this is the society we live in. They don't look at how far you've come. They look at what you had. So we get to practice acceptance, tolerance, and just do the best we can with what we have available. So in any event, Jeff, what do you think of what I'm sharing here tonight?
I don't know. Ev, I'm going to pass the baton to you.
Actually, Jeff, I had a question for you, Jeff, because I'm
Okay.
curious about a different type of pain. Now, this is pain when we want to achieve something. And the reason I'm stating all this is because I just picked up the guitar again, which I put down in my 20s because of pain and not being good at it. And I've always wished that I kept doing it. So I've picked it up again, but I'm back in that moment of pain, right? I'm bad at something. And I'm keenly aware that I'm bad at this, but I want to get good. So, Jeff, you being a world-renowned photographer that was once bad at it, you admitted that you admitted to all of us.
I've never been bad. Okay, and I'm just saying that.
How did you reframe that pain? That's what I want to know. You started out bad, but you wanted to be good. How the hell did you keep showing up?
Because I can be friggin' relentless.
So it's a gift that Jeff has that I will never have, right?
It wasn't because there's no bad or good, and but I had something. There was something in what I was seeing and what I was doing. But I'm that type of person that I want to keep on getting better. I'm a better photographer right now than I was 3 months ago. I'm a better photographer, I'm doing a book right now. I'm looking at the images in the book. I'm a better photographer than many of those images in that book now, because it's just the quest to do that, to learn, to learn more, I'm learning different ways of doing things. And as I'm going through this book and looking at it, I'm going, oh, wow, what I know now, I can make that image look better. But an image 15 years ago, I'm looking at going, wow, what I know now, what I have learned, and continue to learn and practice and get better at my craft and what I'm doing. That's just in me. It's always been there. And because I just was always interested. How did you do that? What's that? It's just that I can be relentless at wanting to be great at what I do. And it's not even about that. It's just, it's hard to describe. It's like, if you become complacent in life, in that, okay, if you're in this comfort zone, and actually I've done like 5 photo shoots this month in the same studio. And today I did another photo shoot in the same studio. And I went, wow, I'm way too comfortable in this studio. I need to challenge myself somewhere else. That's what that's the thing. And it's always about that. It's always been that way when I was an athlete, when I was bodybuilding. It was how much can I challenge myself to take another step forward, to burst through the comfort zones? Because as artists, we get very comfortable. I told the photographer here one day, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy you wheels for your light stands. He goes, why? I said, because you're way too comfortable. You got to learn how to move the light. And you have to go over and experiment with that light over there and see what that world is over there. That's the wonder child coming out. It's always, wow. But I can be relentless at it, and probably have been relentless to a fault at times, to where it wasn't beneficial.
What I'd like to do in this moment is switch gears real quickly and invite Evis in this moment to share, when we are grieving a loss. It could be someone that transitions. It could be a friendship that dissolves. What is a healthy way? Share some tips, tricks, and tools on how can we navigate through the grieving process of a loss of a relationship. It could be a personal relationship. It could even be an employment relationship. What is it? How do we navigate through that level of pain where it feels like it could be an absolute finality? It can feel that way.
Yeah, 100%, brother. And, that's what it really comes back down to, isn't it? All pain being a loss of something, whether it's that loss of a loved one, like you mentioned, within a relationship, whether it's the loss of your ability to be able to move because maybe an injury within the physical realm, or whether it was a loss in a financial crash that, your career just went down in, the grave, so to speak. Through that grieving process, always remember that there is no specific time to grieve something, brothers and sisters. Number one thing for me is take your time with the grieving process. And I mentioned it before, make sure that you may need to be around other people that you value and that you trust through a grieving process. Because it's so easy that we can go into isolation. And that's when we find ourselves in the grieving process that we may sink into depression, start building anxiety. But through this pain, this process, and all these tools that we're sharing about tonight, you understand that in all pain, and it will tell you it is a messenger. What is the message coming through? What is the signal coming through that's saying that there's just something out of balance, that there's something out of whack? In those messages are the lessons. That's the gift. That's where you find the nuggets on what may be happening through whatever you may have lost within your life. I did want to actually share this, and I respect my brother in so much way. So hopefully he's not watching this, but I'll just quickly share it because it's just come up. But unfortunately, this week he had to put his beloved dog down. And, he obviously called me and he was quite upset because they were really close, him and his partner, to obviously the pet. And it was the same thing that I said to my brother. Just take your time with this, bros. But always know that I'm here for you if you need to talk. And his very response was exactly that. I'm just going to sit in this and take my time with it. He's going to feel into those emotions that now lie underneath the grief from losing that beloved dog of his. So for me, it's really important that in all of this pain that we find ourselves in, brothers and sisters, there is obviously a message, and even if it's as deep as losing a loved one like that.
There's always a gift.
Always a gift.
There's always a gift in the pain. And
that's
what hit me.
Doesn't it come down to this? And we've talked about this so many times, how we treat ourselves through it.
Yeah.
Just think, Ev, you said to him, I'm here, I'm available, I'm compassionate, I'm feeling you. Now, when we're in that position, can we do that for ourselves, as well as asking and looking out? But it's really just being how loving towards ourselves we can be through the uncomfortable parts, the grieving process, and treating ourselves with compassion and tenderness and kindness, because all of us and everybody who's watching us, it has done it for someone else, at least once in your life. Have been compassionate and tender and loving to someone else who's going through something deep, grieving, whatever that is. The key is learning how to do that for ourselves. It's been one of my biggest challenges in my life, is learning how to be tender and loving and caring to myself. Because as I just shared, I can be relentless, but I also I had to learn, even in the last bunch of months, really learn on a deeper level on how to be loving, honoring, tender, with myself through these periods, because I know how to do it for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're all compassionate, we're all empathetic, we're all feeling beings, and we feel another's pain deeply. All of us right here, right now, and everybody watching us, we can feel someone else's pain, and we can go there with them. We have to learn, and I had to learn how to do that for myself.
Beautiful.
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 Josh.
Beautiful.
Josh, what are you making of all this? This is your topic tonight. You wanted to jump into turning pain into pleasure. How do we turn pain into pleasure? What is the relationship between pain and pleasure?
I mean, Jeff just bringing it home, bringing it to the personal, how we show up for ourselves. And I guess I didn't want to move from that for a sec. I just wanted to honor that, Jeff. Wow. And what it's funny how, as awful as I was in my head and pressure some to myself, I would never be that way to somebody else. I'd be the biggest asshole on the planet if I was that way to someone else. And yet we could show so much kindness, love, thoughtfulness, and truly show up for someone else, and then never do that for us. Jeff, you nailed it. That'll be my drop for the evening. And my gift from you, Jeff, was that it took me a lot of years to learn that too, and I'm still learning it. Right now, currently. How to show up for me. So way to bring it home, Jeff. we always come back to self, and what a beautiful way to close out this talk on pain too. How we can show up for ourselves in the pain, and not only reframe it, and not only look for opportunities within it, but ultimately how to show up for us in the midst of it too.
What's really important, and one of the things, once again, that I have really not learned, I'm not going to put past tense on it. I'm still learning, and I'm still committing, and I'm still moving through processes and affirmations to recalculate that critic, where it's not a critic inside of me anymore. It's more of a calming influence in me, that inner critic. And we've talked about that on the other shows. The thing that I am finding is the commitment that I'm making to myself now for this year and beyond is to, when I get in those moments, is to use the tools that I'm learning and have to be tender with myself, to be compassionate with myself as I move through the process, as opposed to, I shouldn't be doing this. Oh, there's the pain again. There we are again. Because there's 4 stages to it. We're all going to resist it at the beginning, and then we're going to tolerate it. And then after we tolerate it, we'll go to the place of accepting it. And then after the acceptance comes the lessons and the growth. It's those 4 stages that we go through when we're in uncomfortable situations. Resistance, and then we get to the place where we tolerate it, and then we get to the place where, oh wow, I can accept it. And then after we're accepting it, it moves, the energy moves, and then all of a sudden the lessons will come, or the growth will come after that. That's what I always keep in mind. So when we get into this place, I know right away I'm human. Even though I'm having a soul experience, I'm still human, and I'm going to resist it right away. Bingo, I'm going to resist it. And then if I'm compassionate by saying, okay, right now I'm resisting all of this. That's being tender with yourself and accepting yourself, because I'm resisting this. And then all of a sudden that moves into tolerating it. I know I'm repeating myself. And then all of a sudden that when you tolerate it, then as I'm saying this, it gets softer. Then all of a sudden, oh, wow, I'm accepting it. I still don't feel great. I'm still feeling uncomfortable. But I'm accepting it now. And through that acceptance, it just softens and moves and softens. And those are the 4 stages of moving through pain and suffering.
Beautiful. Jeff, I want to thank you for lighting us up tonight. As we at the hour mark, I want to take a moment here, Ev, to invite you to put a pretty bow in the show and close us out with this a few thoughts, words of wisdom, tips, tools, or tricks, and then we'll sign off.
Yeah, brother, another beautiful show, man. So many nuggets there. For our brothers and sisters, whenever you're watching this, love you to share it out into the community. You know, messages like this can never be heard enough. And some of those really deep, meaningful lessons that we're learning tonight are just magic. So, you know, showing my gratitude for that. But one thing that really does come to mind, particularly with a lot of pain, unless it's acute like we spoke about earlier, unless it's in that moment, a lot of this pain is past. It's in the past, brothers and sisters. So when we get caught up in our minds, up in the head space, generally we're thinking in that past. So we look for the pleasure to move forward, and we're never present. We're never present in the moment to receive that gift, the lesson, or the message that pain tries to signal. So we've talked about a lot of tips and tools tonight. You could go back and watch this a couple of times. And Jeff brings up a beautiful point. No matter what pain we're going through within our lives, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, always know how to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Take responsibility for your pain. Take ownership for your pain. And when we move through some of these steps like we talked about with the acceptance, being able to forgive some of that loss that may have caused pain within our life, to start identifying some of the emotions and feelings that are underneath the pain within our lives, and then being able to express and find release as opposed to constantly relief and pleasure to distract us from these things within our lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then we realize that was just the past. But you know what? All my time, energy is now focused on my happiness in the present and going forward in the future. So on that note.
Yeah, beautiful. That was great.
I want to take a moment here to acknowledge and thank my co-hosts. I love you guys. You know, what we do, we show up week after week, 136 plus weeks. We've had a few weeks where we've been on hiatus, but for the most part, we show up each week. We show up because we know not only do we get to embrace our own journey, this thing called life, but we get to share our own experiences, our strength, our hope, and the wisdom that we continue to embrace through our own personal journeys. And for our viewers who are tuning in this evening, we appreciate you. We hope you heard something tonight that resonated, that you get to put into your own toolbox and embrace and accept as part of your healing journey, as part of this thing called life. And know this, that without pain, we just be coasting. We're not growing. We're not learning. Pain is the gateway to learning and how to just how to navigate through the pain. And with that, thank you all for joining us tonight. A quick shout out to my mom. I love you. Peace and blessings. Love you guys.